Welcome in to a Friday morning edition of Betting the Pitch, hosted by your host, the real underscore G Warner, on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and YouTube. We're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues and try to find some winners. There will be an ultimate best bet coming end of show. Hopefully, we can avoid multiple penalties like Benfica got in the second half against Toulouse in the Europa League. But we're going to let bygones be bygones and get straight into it. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/the real underscore G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups. I think I just got to 39 units on college basketball so far this season, hitting 60% on pregame. And that's a really good spot if you're looking for an affordable way to follow along. And really, if you download the application, you can get all my plays right as I lock them in if you just turn on notifications on your phone. So we're going to get right into it. We'll start where the money is, and that is in the English Premier League. As soon as I can load these lines, we'll get right into it. All lines are quoted courtesy of Bet Online. There is a link to Bet Online or their sister site, SportsBetting.ag, both in the podcast description. If you're watching on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere there, follow those links. You should get a 50% bonus for a first-time deposit, 100% match. That was at Bet Online, 100% at SportsBetting.ag. So I would highly recommend looking into and taking advantage of that. So we'll start with Brentford hosting Liverpool. And we've got a big one on our hands here because Liverpool top of the table and in Jurgen Klopp's last season. I'm sure there's plenty going on those minds. But ultimately, they're trying to win one for them, and it's been a great start to the season so far. Brentford currently a 1-goal underdog at home with almost all the juice. Over under here is 3.25. Juice very heavily to under. And I think that's not really reflective of how Brentford have played this season. They're certainly going to try to keep this as low scoring as possible because they don't really have tons of ability to outscore a team like Liverpool. But they're at home. They've played a lot better there than they have other places. And I do like getting that full goal of insurance. So I'm interested in that +1 and also the under 3.25. Moving next to Fulham hosting Aston Villa. Currently, Fulham a quarter goal underdog with all the juice right now. Over unders 2.75. Juice very heavily to over. Maybe we get a 3 here. That'd be interesting to me. Aston Villa, to me, they're a defensive side that really goal scoring seems really fortunate when Ollie Watkins finds a way in. Or the set pieces. I think they're pretty disappointed off their performances of late, really putting their Champions League spot in jeopardy. Fulham on the other side, they had a bunch of extra matches that they played because of the two-legged Carabao Cup semifinal. But they played really well last weekend. I think got a pretty shock upset, or I mean, I guess they're a home favorite, so it's not an upset. But I was surprised. It's upset my expectations of what they did last weekend. I guess I'm interested in the Fulham as a home underdog here. Don't know that I would have said this a few weeks ago. I think I'm most interested in under 2.75 though, and love to see a 3. Tottenham then hosts Wolves. Currently, Tottenham a 1-goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over unders 3.25 with almost all the juice. As you'd expect, Tottenham are going to give up a lot of chances. They're probably going to score a ton, and Heung-min Son should be back in the lineup for this one after coming on as a substitute in his last match, coming back from the Asian Cup, excuse me. I'm not really sure what my expectations are for Sonny, but I do have high expectation for Wolves to keep this a low-scoring matchup. I love getting a full goal of insurance, and that might be tested, unfortunately, considering how much Tottenham score. But I also lean to under 3.25. It's a little bit scarier for me to put that out there, and probably something I should take off my list, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But Wolves +1 is my interest there. Newcastle then hosts Bournemouth. Currently, Newcastle a half-a-goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 3.25, juiced pretty heavily to under, and it should be. But Newcastle's defense certainly throws a wrench into that. I think Bournemouth go on the road and play a very competitive match here. I'm really looking to find ways to go against Newcastle and really to go against their defense. It doesn't really make a ton of sense to go under when I want to fade a defense, but I do feel like Bournemouth, they are going to be a counterattacking side, which again, I guess puts the Newcastle, specifically Dan Burn, under big time scrutiny. He can't run. I mean, came back from a back injury this year, is already 6'7", playing a short man's game in the English Premier League. So I don't really know. Like, I would hope that Eddie Howe would learn something and stop playing him. That might even determine whether I play under here. It's above 3, and that's usually a buy for me. I just don't see a ton of goals. Yes, there's been a million goals in the Premier League the last few weekends. And some ridiculous lack of officiating on fouls on goalkeepers. But at this point, I'm still not a believer in the Newcastle offense. And the way to fade that is with the road team, which is scary in St. James's Park. But still, and also to the under 3.25. Moving next to Nottingham Forest hosting West Ham. Currently, Nottingham Forest, a quarter goal favorite at home. Surprise, surprise. All the juice on West Ham on the road. Over under is 2.5, juiced almost all the way to over. Now, Nottingham Forest as a favorite at home is just not something that I can really come to grips with. I think I'll have to because I'll put West Ham getting a quarter of a goal on my list. And I also like under 2.5 because I think Nottingham Forest under Nuno Espirito Santo is going to be a very defensive side. I don't trust their defense much, but I trust their offense less. And I trust them very, very little as a favorite at home. I don't think there's any trust there. They're out of the circle of trust. Moving next to Burnley hosting Arsenal. Currently, Burnley a 1.5 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Arsenal on the road. Over under is 3, just a little bit more to under than to over. Arsenal, great performance, showed their arsenal, if you will, pun intended, with their performance against West Ham, though West Ham were were about as bad as a Premier League team could be. Burnley are going to be a little bit different. They're going to be more pragmatic than they were to start the season, but we'll see if that turns into points because they need them. I don't think that they're expecting to win this match. I think they're probably very satisfied with a home point. And I think the way they do that is try to keep Arsenal out of their goal. Problem is, how much do we trust them to do that? I think Burnley, I'd rather have the under 3 than the 1.5. I'm not sure it'll make my card. Last but not least, on Saturday, we have Manchester City hosting Chelsea. I guess all these matches are on Saturday. Sorry for not addressing that initially. But Manchester City currently a 1.5 goal favorite to Chelsea right now. Over under is 3.25, juiced pretty heavily to under. Now, I just don't really know how to attack this matchup, to be fair, frank, whatever. Man City with a good victory against Copenhagen, but kind of played around with their food the whole time and didn't really do a great job of scoring goals. The goals they did score seemed very fortunate off of pretty bad bounces for Copenhagen. Now they're playing on a shorter rest, though Chelsea played Monday, Manchester City Tuesday. Pretty even, especially considering Manchester City are at home and Chelsea had to travel over. But I think Chelsea are just, a goal and a half for Chelsea to get on the road is a monstrous number. I just don't trust them at all. I feel like they were so fortunate to beat Crystal Palace on Monday. 2 late goals made a 3-1 victory, and both, I think, in stoppage time made that look even prettier than it should have been. And honestly, they probably were unfortunate, unlucky on that first goal not being disallowed for a foul, but I think they have big problems. And under 3.25 makes a lot of sense. I'll put that on my list because it's above 3, but I got to say it's really scary to want to play unders with Chelsea at this point with their defense against a really good team like Manchester City. Moving to Sunday, Sheffield United, a 1-goal underdog at home to Brighton with all the juice. Over under is 3, just slightly more to under. Sheffield United with a great performance, victory on the road at Luton Town, but let's remember that they're both promoted sides. Now Brighton come in and they're going to be a much stiffer test. Though to be fair, Luton Town had been scoring a bunch of goals. Brighton certainly have that capability, but Brighton have not really been delivering. Fortunate that they were not to, I guess, credit them hard work for winning their group in Europa League. So they got a bye this week. That's certainly going to help them for this matchup. I think Sheffield United's defense has been really concerning. I don't know that it was that great against Luton Town either. So it makes that under 3 look really scary, especially with Brighton being as aggressive offensively as they are. So I'll put Sheffield United that 1 goal of insurance on my list for the potential ultimate best bet coming end of show. Luton Town, a 3/4 goal underdog. Speaking of, they're hosting Manchester United with almost all the juice on Luton Town. Maybe this falls to a half. Over under here is 3, juice to split both ways. Now, Luton haven't been the under team they started the year as. They've been scoring a lot more. Manchester United seems like their goals are really fortunate. I don't really trust that. So I like the push on 3, and I guess I lean to the home underdog because I'm just not really sold on Manchester United. I mean, they shouldn't have had that first goal after a corner kick was awarded after an offside was clearly Rafael Varane was interfering with play, but they let that go. It's just officiating in soccer just has so much room to grow. It's not worth it for me to complain because I could spend 2 hours doing it. Moving to Monday Night Football, we have Everton hosting Crystal Palace. Currently, Everton a 3/4 goal favorite. Over under here is 2.25, just a little bit more to over and a little bit more to Everton. Now, Crystal Palace, they don't have a lot of offensive answers. Certainly are devastated after that collapse against Chelsea, especially from a 1-0 lead and losing 2 goals in stoppage time to lose 3-1. Had a point in hand, and honestly, Martin Tyler kind of jinxed it by saying there's been so many late goals in the Premier League this season. Big questions here about Crystal Palace, how they score goals. Everton haven't been as good at home this year, surprisingly, despite that big crowd. I think for that reason, or just in general, I'm more interested in under 2.25 than backing Crystal Palace here. Um, and for my ultimate best bet in England before we move to La Liga in Spain, I'm gonna go with let's see, I'm gonna go with Bournemouth getting a half of a goal on the road at Newcastle. Yes, it is alarming, scary potentially to do that. I just feel like Bournemouth, especially, I really like how Bournemouth have played coming off a loss. I think Newcastle are ripe for an upset, even in a big home stadium. Moving to Friday in Spanish La Liga, we have Villarreal hosting Getafe. Currently, Villarreal a half a goal favorite. Almost all the juice right now, and Getafe on the road. Over under is 2.5. Juiced pretty heavily to under here as well. I'm looking to be against Villarreal as much as I possibly can. Not a believer in their new manager, third of the season. Him trying to make an offensive team defensive, it just was not a good fit, and I don't think Villarreal really know what they're doing. Getafe have been better this season than anyone I think would have expected. I like that half of a goal. I also like under 2.5 as well. Moving to Saturday morning, we have Atletico Madrid hosting Las Palmas as they get ready for Champions League, and Atleti have not been playing great. Atleti, even with saying that, they're a full goal favorite at home with all the juice. I think it was a goal and a quarter last night, but some movement has come in on Las Palmas, and I don't blame them because Las Palmas cover the spread every weekend, pretty much. And including two late goals to get a victory and push on my total, unfortunately, last weekend at home against against Valencia. But in this matchup, they're going to the Wanda Metropolitano, where Atletico Madrid had been killing everybody for I don't know, a 365-day stretch across 2 seasons. But those kind of things have changed. Atleti are really, really banged up, tired, fatigued, all those sort of things. Maybe playing a mid-season tournament in Saudi Arabia wasn't great, but La Liga needs or wants the money. So give me Las Palmas getting that full goal, and I like under 2.5 here as well, as I just don't really trust Atleti to score, and Las Palmas will protect themselves with possession. Osasuna then hosts Cadiz. Currently, Osasuna a 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Cadiz on the road. Over under here is 2, juiced a little bit more to under. It's a low total, and it's understandable. I don't really trust Cadiz to score much, which worries me on the road backing them. But if they could move to a full goal of insurance, I'd be interested there. I just don't see that happening. So I'll put under 2 on my list. Celta de Vigo then hosts Barcelona. Currently Celta a half a goal underdog at home. More juice on Barcelona on the road. Surprise, surprise. Over under 2 3/4. Juice pretty heavily to over. Another surprise, surprise. Barcelona's defense, I mean, what a joke against Granada. What a joke in general. What a joke of a team. What a joke of how much they pay for their players. And Joao Cancelo is right back. I mean, what might as well just play right wing and not even try. So they have one less guy to play people on side. Celta Vigo on the other side, they've been getting a lot of respect, I feel like, from the marketplace, and it's improved under Rafa Benitez. Another example of an offensive team trying to go defensive, but it hasn't really worked for them as an offensive team for the last few seasons. So I feel like that's been a little bit more sensible. Anyway, Celta, a half a goal underdog at home. I'm just looking to be against Barcelona. I don't think that they have any hope. I think their manager leaving end of the season doesn't help either. So give me Celta getting a half of a goal. The nightcap on Saturday, Valencia hosts Sevilla. Currently, Valencia a quarter goal favorite at home. A little bit slightly more juice on Sevilla on the road. Over under 2.25, juiced more to under. Valencia with a really disappointing end of their match against Las Palmas, 2 goals in the last few minutes. Brutal, but played a pretty good game. Sevilla coming off an upset victory over Atletico Madrid, which felt like there was some fortune in it, but maybe deserved as well. They've got an incredibly hot striker who came off the fifth division or something like that. I don't even know what the word would be in Spanish, something fifth. But at this point, I 50, I don't know. Anyway, La Valencia, I just feel like they are better. And a quarter goal favorite at home feels pretty cheap. So I don't know that I want too much to do with Sevilla, though certainly they're the bigger names, and I feel like the marketplace has overrated them for this entire season. I think I'm mostly interested in under 2.25 in that one. Moving to Sunday, Rayo Vallecano hosts Real Madrid. Currently, Rayo a 1 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.5. Juice all the way to over. I don't know where Rayo is expected to score goals. They haven't done any of that this season, coming off a heartbreaking loss in stoppage time last weekend. I had, I think, 5 or 6 of those. It was absolutely brutal weekend for me, but I think we came out relatively okay considering all those and a million penalties conceded as well. But Rayo, I don't really want to back them at home, even getting a full goal of insurance from Real Madrid coming off a trip to Leipzig. I think Real Madrid are probably lower efficiency type of offense right now, of course, without Jude Bellingham. Um, but I think it's a little bit low of a total for them, but Rayo are going to try to defend like crazy because I think they know they can't score, so they're going to try to do their best to keep Real Madrid out. So give me Rayo under 2.5 in that one. Moving next to Granada hosting Almeria. Currently Granada a quarter goal favorite with all the juice over unders 2.5, juiced a little bit more to under. So Almeria have been fighting like heck on the bottom of the table. Granada fighting like heck to get a draw against Barcelona, might have even deserved more. It feels like Granada are relatively evenly priced. This should be a half of a goal favorite, probably based on Almeria's inability to win any matches. I don't think you want to back them until they've done it and going on the road. Yes, to another newly promoted side that's looking like another relegation candidate slash almost guarantee. But I think for the most part, I've been interested in Almeria unders. They played a goalless draw on Monday Night Football last weekend. I like under 2.5 more than I think backing the side here, at least until we get to a half of a goal, and then I'll probably reevaluate. Next, we'll go to Mallorca hosting Real Sociedad. I'm wearing their kit today. Mallorca, a quarter goal underdog right now with all the juice over unders 1 3/4. Choose very heavily to under. Low total, as you'd expect. Real Sociedad went pretty hard for a trip to PSG in the Champions League midweek. Really fell behind on a corner kick because they had 10 men and they had a forward marking Kylian Mbappe. Probably not exactly the best way to do it. That's probably something they're going to kick themselves about for a very long time, especially if they lose the second leg or aren't able to, I guess, turn around that deficit. Now, Mallorca, I'm interested in them at home. I think this is a great spot for a good home team. They haven't been playing great in the league. They're the same matchup we saw probably maybe last week, midweek, I think in the Copa del Rey semifinals. So there's some history here. There's no goals in that one. 1 3/4 is pretty low for a total. I generally don't go below 2. Though if there ever was a one to do that, it might be here. I do like Mallorca getting a quarter of a goal at home, though. Real Betis then hosts Alaves, coming off a Europa League or Europa Conference League match. They dropped out of Europa League on Thursday. They just played, so a little bit questionable on the legs for Real Betis. They're a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice over unders 2 1/4. Just a little bit to under. I like Alaves getting a quarter of a goal, potentially getting a half once we get there. I just am betting against Real Betis goal scoring, and have been doing it all season. Last but not least, go to Monday. Athletic Club Bilbao hosts Girona in a pretty big battle for Champions League places. Now it looks like Real Madrid have pretty much clinched the league. Athletic Club, a half a goal favorite, more juice on Girona on the road, over under 2 3/4, juice more to over. I'm interested to see how Girona respond to their performance or lack thereof against Real Madrid. Just look like men versus boys. Athletic Club, they're a counterattacking side, but are a pretty big favorite here. So I'm interested in Girona getting that half, though I am concerned that they're going to concede too many goals going down the stretch here. But they play an aggressive brand. I feel like the road offense is something I usually bet against in other sports like college basketball, plus 39 units. So you didn't hear that earlier in the show. Go subscribe to Patreon to get all my plays in one spot. Leans right up to everything. But anyway, back to the soccer podcast that we're currently recording, or I'm currently recording. I do feel like there's some value in under 2 3/4 here. It feels like a really big total for Athletic Club. They're certainly deserving of it at times, I would think. But just I'm not sure really that I trust Athletic Club to score goals, and that basically makes it so I should probably look to the road team and under. And for my best bet from La Liga in Spain, I will summarize them all from the top 5 leagues and then give an ultimate best bet end of show. So stick around. I'll go Alaves under 2 1/4 as my best bet on the road at Real Betis. Moving to Serie A in Italy on Friday, we have 2 matches. Torino hosting Lecce. Currently, Torino a half a goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 2, juiced all the way to over. So I think this total was 2 1/4 last night. It's probably going to jockey between those numbers. Certainly some more value if you play under 2 1/4 than under 2, but you're probably going to pay for it. Lecce have not been great at keeping clean sheets, though this is a pretty good opportunity for them away from home. Torino are going to possess the ball a ton. Lecce are going to have to really use their as much energy as they can possibly get, which is going to be tough on the road. Torino as a half a goal favorite feels a little bit cheap, but it's probably climbing to 3/4 based on the juice right now. My biggest interest here is Lecce under 2, but I don't even know if there's enough there for me. I probably want to see 2.25, though the push on 2 is essential. Inter Milan then hosts Salernitana as they prepare for their Champions League run next week. Currently, Inter a 2.25 goal favorite, almost a little bit more juice on Salernitana on the road. Over under here is 3.25, juice very heavily to under. And I wonder how much Inter I mean, if they can get an early lead, I'm sure they're doing early substitutions to get out of this matchup. I don't think it's going to be that simple, though Salernitana's defense has certainly been really bad, and the 2.25 goal underdog is gigantic. I think my biggest interest here is under 3.25. Moving next to Napoli hosting Genoa on Saturday morning here in the United States in beautiful Dallas, Texas, where we might see the sun today. I'm not sure. Napoli, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 2.25, juice more to the over. I'm waiting to see if Genoa climb to a 1 goal underdog. They finally had a really good streak busted last weekend by some great goals from Atalanta. Just felt like they were kind of unlucky. And I just want to be against Napoli in that goal scoring, whatever we call it, because I don't think they have many goals in the team, even with Victor Osimhen likely coming back into the lineup here. Give me Genoa. Hopefully a full goal of insurance. We might move to that. Certainly the juice looks like it's heading that direction. And I lean under 2.25 because I just don't think Napoli are going to score, even if Osimhen is back next to his guy, Kvaratskhelia. Verona then hosts Juventus. Currently, Juve, a 3/4 goal favorite on the road with more juice. Over under is 2.25. Juice very heavily to under. And that's probably a number I want to get on sooner rather than later. Verona have basically been picked apart. What's left is bones on that team is that rest of Serie pretty much signed their best players away. But Verona have been pretty competitive. They've held on to some talent, maybe based on just lengthy contracts that the players couldn't get out of or other teams didn't want to buy out of. But pretty much Juve are going to go in. They've not been playing well. Took a really bad loss to Udinese last weekend, I think at home even. Verona, I think, are not a really good team, not going to threaten Juve's goal much, but I like under 2.25 when one team is fairly unlikely to score and they're at home. Atalanta then hosts Sassuolo. Currently, Atalanta a 1.5 goal favorite, more juice than Sassuolo on the road. Over under here is 3.25, juice very heavily to under. I don't really know what to do Sassuolo at this point. Atalanta have been scoring as many goals, but they've been dominant this year. I'm probably going to stay away from this one. Moving to Sunday, Lazio hosts Bologna, coming off an important 1-0 victory over Bayern Munchen at home to really give them a good chance to go through and as a shock underdog in Champions League. Lazio, a 1/4 goal favorite at home to Bologna, who also played on Wednesday slightly earlier, and it was at home to Fiorentina, but got a big win, and things have been going very well for Thiago Motta. Over under here is 2, which feels low, but Bologna has been pretty good defensively. Lazio had a really good under streak that kind of slowed at the start of 2024, but I think it's going to start again. Give me Bologna getting that quarter, and I like under 2 as well. I think it's a great spot for Bologna, who I think might even be the better team at this point. Udinese then hosts Cagliari. Currently, Udinese a 1/2 goal favorite at home. Juice split over unders 2.25. Juice all the way to over. So Udinese got a huge win against Juventus and got an under, which is maybe going to start that streak over again, as they had a really tough time scoring goals for a very long time last season, early this season, and then won this huge overrun. Cagliari's defense has not been very good. I don't really trust them as a road underdog here, which does throw that under 2.25 into question, but it looks like it might even get to 2.5 before we get there, before we get to kickoff, excuse me. And I like the idea that Udinese is not going to concede much, and I don't really still trust them to score. Empoli then hosts Fiorentina. Currently, Empoli a 1/4 goal underdog with all the juice on Fiorentina on the road. Maybe this climbs to a 1/2. Over under here is 2.25. Juice pretty heavily to over, and I feel like Empoli are getting a lot of respect here. Wasn't expecting that, but I guess Fiorentina's lack of performance lately and playing midweek, potentially with some tired legs, so they're used to it from playing Conference League or whatever league they're, I think Conference League in Europe midweek. They're used to it, so they shouldn't be that bad or that tired. But things have been going great for Fiorentina. I'm interested in the home dog, but more so in under 2.25. Because I just don't really trust Empoli to score goals. Next, we'll go to Frosinone hosting Roma. Currently, Frosinone a 1/2 goal underdog. Juice is split both ways. Over under here is 2.75. Just a little bit more to under. And Frosinone's defense has been really bad. They get Roma coming off a trip to Union Saint. No, that was sorry. They get a Europa League road trip to Feyenoord in Holland, which was a tough trip for Roma, but they ended up equalizing thanks to Romelu Lukaku. Surprise, surprise. Offense has been great for Roma so far. Frosinone's defense has been pretty bad. 2.75 is a giant total for Roma at this point, but think I'm going to wait till I get to 3 here. Just frozen and they haven't proven that they can defend whatsoever. Last but not least, Monza hosts AC Milan, coming off a big victory and lopsided one at that at home against Stade Rennais of France. Monza, 3/4 goal underdog here with all the juice. Over under is 2.5, juice a little bit more to under. Monza are a tough team for me to call right now. I don't trust them to score much. They're at home. That helps. This is, I guess, a regional derby a little bit. Monza certainly considers Milan one of their neighbors and a team that they care about. Milan probably don't care about them whatsoever. So maybe there's a bit of an advantage there, plus potentially some tired legs coming from Thursday. Thursday match to then the nightcap on Sunday. I think I'm most interested in Monza getting that 3/4 of the goal. Would love to see them get a full goal of insurance, but I don't think we'll get there. And I have not had a great time fading Milan, unfortunately, for a lot of the season. For my best bet from Italy, I'm going to go with that Verona under 2.25. I feel like that is my favorite one for right now. And I'll move now to the German Bundesliga and we'll get started on Germany as we try to get through this episode as quickly as possible, but while giving some nuggets of wisdom. Start on Friday with FC Köln hosting Werder Bremen. Currently Köln a pick'em with all the juice over under here is 2.5, juiced pretty heavily to under. It should be juiced under because why would you trust Köln to score any goals? They nearly took a second straight victory and are looking like they're going to be that relegation playoff type of team, the Relegation, as they call it in German. I think I'm looking to be on Werder Bremen. I don't have the 1/4 goal yet. I don't really like playing pick'ems away from home, but I am tempted by that to say the least, because I feel like Köln are unlikely to win this matchup. And I do like under 2.5 as my biggest interest right now, at least until we get some line movement. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense why Köln would get it. But there have been a lot of, I'll get to another team in the Bundesliga that just seems to always be favored for reasons I can't explain. We'll move now to Wolfsburg hosting Borussia Dortmund. Currently, Wolfsburg, a 1/4 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Dortmund on the road. Over under is 3, just slightly to under. Wolfsburg have not been great, have not been scoring goals much. This feels like a very, very generous price for the home team, as in a lot of respect is coming from the Bundesliga marketplace. I don't think that marketplace has been very intelligent over the last few weeks, months, whatever, since 2024 began in the Rückrunde. But at this point, I guess it's certainly making me interested in under 3 because I think this feels like Dortmund are preparing for Champions League, knowing that they are out of the Meisterschale race. Bayern Munich might even be themselves. And so they probably have more on their mind looking ahead to Champions League. So I guess I'll throw that 1/4 of a goal on my list, but I think I'm more interested in under 3. Moving next to Heidenheim, hosted by Leverkusen, who just came off their bye, which is huge for them in the Europa League as well, and that huge victory over Bayern Munich. Can't imagine they could ever be a higher priced team, and they're now, I think, a 1-2 favorite to win the Bundesliga as well. Heidenheim, a 1.5 goal underdog with almost all the juice. Over under is 3, all the way the juiced to the over, potentially gonna get a 3.25 here. And Heidenheim have been awesome. They've been probably a little bit more aggressive than most would expect, and are sitting in a potential European chase right now, which is crazy. Give me the 1.5 at home, and I like under 3.25 potentially when we get there. I like the under 3. The push on 3 is important as well. Mais 05 then hosts Football Club Augsburg. Currently Mainz, they're the team I'm talking about. Just ridiculous favorites all the time here. Half a goal favorite, just have absolutely no ability to score goals. Why would they be favored? I've had that concern for a while, but I've just been betting against it and winning. So why stop here? Over under here is 2.5, juiced a little bit more to under, and there's a lot of juice on Augsburg as a half a goal underdog. But I'm not that worried. I'll probably wait and see if this juice gets better, or I'll grab a 1/4 of a goal in Augsburg. Any sort of underdog price I think would be enough for me. So I'll put that 1/2 on my list and under 2.5 as well. Moving next to Hoffenheim hosting Union Berlin. Currently Hoffenheim a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Union on the road. Over under 2.75, just a little bit more to under. Hoffenheim, they're just a really bad home team. They basically have kids in the crowd. It's like a permanent, like Detroit Tigers Wednesday getaway day noon start where it's like there's no fan base, no ultras, and I think that's why they've performed so well away from home, just because they've been so bad at home and have no home field advantage. For that reason, I'm pretty interested in Union Berlin as they make their charge up the table. Still can't believe they fired Urs Fischer or let him go, but say la vie. I like under 2 3/4 there as well. Moving next to still in this big window of early Saturday morning matches in the German Bundesliga. We'll start with SV Darmstadt hosting VfB Stuttgart. Currently, Darmstadt a 1 1/4 goal underdog at home with more juice. Over unders 2 3/4. She's all the way to over. We might get a 3 here, and I'll be waiting to see if that number comes out. It looks like Serie Girassi is potentially going to start this matchup, and yikes for Darmstadt. They're going to defend like crazy and try to keep this as low scoring as possible. I want to get that 3 before I play anything, but we don't have it yet, so I'll wait on that one. RB Leipzig then hosts Borussia Mönchengladbach coming off a really disappointing loss. Marco Rosa after the match having no idea why a goal was chalked off early against Real Madrid was kind of funny, but it was pretty clear there was a push by an offside player on a goalkeeper, and that's going to be given every time. Look at me defending referees. Who would have thunk? But Leipzig, a 1.5 goal favorite at home. Over under here is 3.5. More juice on under and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Leipzig just haven't won handily all season at home compared to they used to dominate teams at home. It's not happened this year. They've not had a good start to the year. The loss to Real Madrid maybe helps galvanize the team because they can go and say the ref screwed them, but I don't really think they even believe that. I'm interested in Gladbach getting too big of a price based on past results. They've not been great away from home, but they've scored goals. But that's still 3.5 is a gigantic total as well. Moving to Sunday, Sport Club Freiburg hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. Currently, Freiburg a 1/4 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Frankfurt on the road. Over under is 2.5. Juice pretty heavily or slash all the way to under. Maybe we see a 2 1/4 here. That wouldn't scare me. Freiburg coming off a really great goalless draw on the road at Lens. They're just fighting. They're playing central defensive midfielders, 20 or 21-year-olds at center back because they are so down on players, but got a really good result and are in great position next Thursday to potentially move on further in the knockout rounds. Eintracht Frankfurt, really just an incredible collapse after an early 2-0 lead on the road at Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium. Really awful control on a back pass to a midfielder and Elish Skiri, who's usually so beyond reproach, but was not here, and then ended up giving up an equalizer as well. So now they've got plenty of work to do in the home leg against Union Saint-Gilloise. But I feel like both these teams, I mean, both played on the road, probably should not see a ton of offense from this matchup, like under 2.5 in that one. And last but not least, VfL Bochum hosts Bayern München. Currently, Bochum a 1.5 goal underdog at home. Almost all the juice on Bayern on the road. Over under is 3.5, and it's juiced pretty heavily to under. And I don't really, faded Bayern and finally had some luck with it with Lazio. I'm sad I didn't play under, but it's hard to think about doing that. VfL Bochum are going to try to defend like crazy, but they play a little bit differently at home. Probably try to possess the ball a little bit more to protect their defense. I like that idea. I like a 1.5 goals that they're getting at home because I think Bayern are really in a tough stretch. And I don't think that all of a sudden they'll bust out of it with a huge victory, especially on the road against a team they've lost to in recent years with a much lower budget. And I lean to under 3.5 as well, just because I don't really believe in what Bayern are putting out there. And I think the days for Thomas Tuchel are probably numbered if he hasn't been let go as of yet, and I somehow missed it. We'll move now to Ligue 1 in France, and then I'll wrap this all up with a ultimate best bet. But before we get out of the German side, I got to give you my best bet there, and I'll give Eintracht Frankfurt under 2.5 on the road at Freiburg. Moving to France, we'll go to Lyon hosting Nice in a Olympique. One is Olympique Gymnastique, then Club de Nice. The other is Olympique Lyonnais, but that's not the Olympique because that's with Marseille. Anyway, Lyon, I'll pick them right now at home. Almost all the juice over. There's 2 1/4. Almost all the juice to under. Nice with their star center back suspended, captain Donch. That's a big deal after his red card last weekend. I'm interested in the Lyon side, but I would like to see a better price at Pick'em. So we don't have that yet. And then I'd like under 2 1/4, though I'm a little bit concerned because Lyon have actually been scoring goals and they're on their way up from bottom of the table for like the entire season. But I don't know if we knew that was going to happen, but it seemed like pretty likely. Moving to Saturday, Lille host Le Havre. Currently, Lille a goal favorite at home with more juice. Over unders 2.25, juiced all the way to over. Now, Le Havre have been a really great defensive side. Where do goals come from? Unfortunately, that's the big question. Lost on a what to me felt like a pretty tough break to give up a goal last weekend and then weren't able to score. But now they get to go on the road to Lille, who have some injury troubles and came off a pretty poor showing despite taking an early lead against Paris Saint-Germain last weekend. This is a good spot for Lille to potentially respond, but I think Le Havre are going to make it really hard on them. So I like that +1, that full goal of insurance. It's probably a minimum for me to play here, and I like under 2.25, even though Lille do have some big goal scoring outings in them. I think Le Havre, I trust their defense more. Nantes then host PSG coming off that big Real Sociedad victory at home in the Parc des Princes. Now they go on the road to Nantes, where Nantes are a goal and a quarter underdog with all the juice. Over under here is 3, juice pretty heavily to under. Nantes have been okay this year after fighting relegation last year. PSG, I mean, they clearly go all out for Champions League. I think there's a good chance that we see some rotation here, though Champions League, the next leg not coming up for a while. Maybe they go hard at it and try to cement their claim at the top of the Ligue 1 throne. Nantes, I'm interested in the home dog. I can't say I'm that comfortable with playing a goal and a quarter right now. I expect PSG money to come in, especially seeing getting odds on the -1.25 at the moment. In terms of the total, I think 3 is pretty big for a Nantes match, and especially considering how much they're going to try to keep PSG out. PSG's defense certainly is a little bit concerning for any sort of under, but as well as their offense, of course. But that's the way I lean. Moving to Sunday, Strasbourg hosts Lorient. Currently, Strasbourg a 3/4 goal favorite with more juice at home. Over unders 2.5, juiced more to under. And Strasbourg, they've been playing really well, won a ton of matches ever since the return to play. Lorient have been playing well though too, so that's probably the way I lean. I'm hoping to get that 3/4 of goal turns to a +1. Total here 2.5. I like under there. Though we've seen more goals in Lorient matches of late, really a lot more this season than ever before. But I think Strasbourg, as a pretty big favorite at home, I don't really trust their offense. Moving next to Rennes, hosting Clermont Foot. Currently, Rennes a 1-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.75. She's pretty heavily to under. It feels like a gigantic total. Rennes with a pretty disappointing performance at San Siro at AC Milan midweek. I think Clermont do a ton of defending in this matchup, so I'm interested in under 2.75. I'm not as interested in taking them on the road because I just don't think they could score, and it seems like it's going to be on Rennes to score all the goals in this matchup. So that makes me like under just that much more. Monaco then hosts Toulouse. Currently, Monaco a 1-goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 3. Juice pretty heavily to under, and maybe this sees 1.25. I mean, Toulouse on the road, back-to-back matches in the same week. That's gonna be tough. Went to Benfica. You could argue outplayed Benfica, survived, certainly didn't give up a ton of goals, but gave up 2 of them because they gave up 2 penalties on Angel Di Maria, including one in the 90 plus 7 extra minutes. So brutal for them, especially with Toulouse only 1 point above the relegation zone right now. So they're going to be in a big fight. Monaco got a good victory on the road, though certainly showed some limitations when up a man and still had to kind of pull a win out of the fire. Yes, it was on the road at Nice, but ultimately up a man with multiple leads. This should not be that conservative or that complicated of a win. So I lean to Toulouse. I don't know necessarily what their lineup's going to look like, unfortunately, because they used a ton of bodies and basically put a ton into the Europa League, which was kind of surprised. I thought they might even rest a little bit based on the numbers that were out there, but they did cover. Full goal of insurance is a lot here, and it looks like it'll get higher, but I think I'm interested more in under 3, though I've not had a great run with their unders to start this 2024, though I feel like most of them have been deserved, besides them jumping on Stade de Reims early in that a couple match days ago. Montpellier then hosts Metz. Currently, Montpellier 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Metz on the road. Over under is 2.25. Juice a little bit more to under, and I think that's probably the way I lean. I just don't know that I trust Metz to score much. I don't think I'll get a full goal of insurance, but Montpellier have been struggling, so I'm interested in under 2.25 here. Metz are going to go on the road, a relegation side, and try to keep this as low scoring as possible. Stade de Reims also struggling right now. They're hosting Lens, coming off a disappointing goalless draw at home against a really banged up Sportclub Freiburg team in Europa League, but Reims a pick 'em, and more juices on the Lens side right now. So that does make me a little bit interested in potentially backing Reims to use that rest advantage and Lens not having that big crowd behind them. Over under here is 2.5, juiced very heavily to under. I think Lens will, I mean, they got to the Champions League, fell down to the Europa League, but got to Champions League last year, qualifying, finishing second place in Liga because of their defense. I trust that. So I think I'm interested in the home team at Pick'em and also under 2.5 as well there. And last but not least, Stade Brestois hosts Olympique de Marseille. Currently Brest a Pick'em with all the juice over unders 2.25, juice very heavily to over. Not sure if we'll see that move because it's not that heavy, but it is 17 cents of juice to the over versus 3 on Bet Online. If you're not a member there, check it out. There's a link in the podcast description and Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you see this. Except for Twitter, because I don't think I have enough characters. But anyway, go follow those links. There's some free bonus money that the casinos will give you if you're not a member there yet. You need to get multiple outs. Don't just have one local book or one Bovada or one whatever, because you never know when Bovada will chop your limits to $30. But I've already digressed, so we'll come back. Stade Brestois, pick them with all the juice. That's probably the way I lean, waiting to see if they get more money that hits them, because Marseille did play against, I guess, on the road against Shakhtar Donetsk. Certainly was not in Marseille, but I think it was in Hamburg, Germany. So it wasn't like exactly in Ukraine, because I don't think anyone's playing Europa League matches there. Over in here, 2.25. I feel like I lean to under, but Marseille's defense, really Marseille's offense is a big question for me. I don't think it's that great. And so for that reason, I'm probably not really going to do much with the side here. Only real interest is the total. And maybe Marseille finds some offensive continuity instead of relying on Aubameyang for everything at this point in the season. But I mean, that's basically been what's been going on. So I don't really see too much to change there. And I haven't really been that interested in what I've seen so far, to say the least. So we've come to the end of the show. It's time for the ultimate best bet. Thank you for hanging in there. I know some of you have been on this whole time. I appreciate that. I wish there was a way to display your comments, or if you had them, to answer some questions, but some of the limitations, unfortunately, of this software is I don't think I can see anything yet, unless you're on StreamYard itself where I'm streaming, which I don't know if you're not a streamer, if you would even have that. But if I haven't mentioned already, we have the Need for Seeds podcast coming out, college basketball with Big East Ben. We're recording that this evening at some point. Also, we have did a pregame.com college basketball podcast last night. I imagine some of you might be trying to get it on 60% season so far, plus 39 units on pregame. Did one with Sleepy last night instead of AJ, as he had a family commitment. But and we're back on 4-0 last 4, and I'm 3-0 last 3 podcasts. So jump on there. I've been super hot, and trying to keep that going as long as possible, and trying to keep as much of that on the soccer pitch as well. Just trying to avoid those late penalties or those stoppage time losers. I think there were 6 of them last weekend. But before I get in there, if you're not a member of my Patreon yet, check it out, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything as soon as I put them in. If you download the app, you get a notification, so you can make sure you get the same price I do. Plus, you can really see what I'm looking at going in from try to get my leans posted each night and then going into the next day, so you know what's coming, and you can do some prep yourself. And if you feel like you have a better feel for line moves, then you might want to jump in before I do. And certainly I'm not perfect at that. It's something I pride myself on, but it's not always the easiest thing. And especially with college basketball injuries, who knows what's happening in that world, literally until lineups come out 5 minutes before a game starts, unfortunately. But besides that, it's time for the ultimate best bet. Let me get my little handheld device on. If you're watching on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It'd be huge. Subscribe on YouTube. These little short 1-minute reels go on to Instagram, the real_G Warner, also on YouTube in shorts, the real_G Warner. And if you would rather consume, instead of 43 minutes as we're ticking towards, you want to get this in a minute, you can get everything that I like, my top 5 plays across the 5 European soccer leagues, or maybe the top Tuesday, Wednesday play for Champions League, or top Thursday across the 2 Europa League, Europa Conference League. It might be a best way or a better way to consume this content. So try the real_G Warner on all streaming platforms that I can find, or that I don't know who would have taken that beautiful handle, because I hate it, but it is what it is. It's what we got. So let's go into it. It's ultimate best bet time. Let's start now. So this is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for the European 5 of the top 6 soccer leagues for this weekend, recording on February 16th. So the English Premier League, I like Bournemouth under getting a half of a goal. In La Liga in Spain, I like Alaves under 2.25. In Ligue 1 in France, I like Metz under 2.25 goals. In the German Bundesliga, I like Eintracht Frankfurt under 2.5 goals. And in Serie A, I like Verona under 2.25. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out. Patreon.com/real_G1, the best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything, including a plus 39 units college basketball season documented at pregame.com. All my plays across all sports there. Check it out. Patreon.com/real_G1. But for this best bet, I'm going to stay in a familiar place. I'm going to stay in the German Bundesliga Sunday matchup of Eintracht Frankfurt on the road at Sport Club Freiburg. Two teams coming off very tiring performances on the road in the Europa League. I don't see a lot of goals happening here. Under 2.5, Eintracht Frankfurt. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great Friday. Talk to you all very, very soon.